Hi, this is a quick video for section 10.5, the Pythagorean Theorem. You've probably heard the Pythagorean Theorem before, so we're going to use it and see how it works for us. Here we have that if any right triangle, this only works with right triangles, in a right triangle, the hypotenuse squared is going to equal to the sum of each of the legs squared. So this only works if you square the hypotenuse and you square each of the legs, and it only works if it's a right triangle. So we've seen this as c squared, which is side c, the hypotenuse. It's the longest side of the triangle, and it's always across from the right angle, equals a squared plus b squared. You may have seen this before, but we can actually make real squares out of this if we want to see that this big old square here, this is what we're talking about. The actual square of this is equal to the sum of this square, trying to make squares here, and this square. So when you add the areas of these together, it'll equal the same area as that. So let's see if this example works. We want to know, is this a right triangle? Well, it shows right here that it is. So that symbol is the right triangle symbol. That means that's a right angle. It then is a right triangle. So now we want to figure out what side C is. So we say 6 squared plus 8 squared equals C squared. That's 36 plus 64 equals C squared. That's 100 equals C squared. To find out what C is, we take the square root on both sides, and we only take the positive square root because it's a distance, a measurement, and we get C equals 10. It's as simple as that. There's also something I want to cover called the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. You might have heard of the word reverse, and I'm not talking about the Converse sneakers. I'm talking about something that's very much like the reverse of the Pythagorean theorem. The converse says that if I can see that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then it must be a right triangle. So here's an example. I can see that I have 3 different sides here. But notice I don't know if it's a right triangle or not because it doesn't have that little symbol. So I give it a try. 6 squared. Remember, we're doing just the legs plus 12 squared. How do I know they're the legs? Well, they're not across from the right triangle or the supposed right triangle. Does that equal 14 squared? That's 36 plus 144. Does that equal 196? Question mark. This is 180. It doesn't equal 196, so it must not be a right triangle. So after you get used to these, there are a lot of Pythagorean triples that you kind of memorize a little bit. So 3, 4, 5 is one. Also 6, 8, 10, like multiples of this. Also 5, 12, 13. All of these are what we call Pythagorean triples, and they seem to really help us. Okay, I hope that helped. Good luck.